Thanks for joining today. Okay, so today we are going to be chatting about mastering your marketplace, which in my perspective is really defining your target, who you're going after, your ideal customer or your ideal prospect, and also your positioning to make you most relevant and most able to differentiate yourself in the larger marketplace so that your ideal target can hear and see you and recognize that connection. So a quick hello for those who have not met me yet. This is session 2, but if you have not joined for session 1, that doesn't matter. You're not going to be like missing anything. We're talking about totally new things today. So my name's Alyssa. I'm a fractional CMO, which is a chief marketing officer. So I become a part-time C-level support for medium-sized organizations. And I work with smaller business as a strategic marketing advisor. So predominantly I work with service-based B2B businesses, help them connect and attract with their ideal prospects, and also then help them to build really effective marketing plans so they can grow. In terms of my background, just to give myself a bit of credibility of why you should listen to what the heck I'm saying. I started my career in Fortune 500s. I call this stage 1 of Alyssa's career. I was at Nike, moved to Unilever, where I was in the marketing and sales teams. And then I moved over to Walmart and led their health and beauty category from a marketing perspective. Then I jumped ship into stage 2, where I helped to grow a startup production company for 8 years. And then after that, I had 2 babies, realized I need something new, and shook things up with stage 3, where I predominantly run my company as a fractional CMO called the Zen Strategy. I also have a side hustle online accelerator course called Side Hustle CEO, helping women to launch and start their own business. So getting into our content today. We're going to start with customers first. So your ideal prospect, your target, it's got many names. Pick one that you love and resonates with you, roll with it. I'm going to be using a myriad so that I'm relatable and relevant to everyone who might be listening today. So your customer is everything. You do not have a product, you do not have a business if someone is not buying what you're selling. So first and foremost, who that person is should be driving everything you do in the context of your business. And it's the most important thing from a messaging perspective, from a product development perspective, from a sales perspective. And your job really is to find out what they want and then make sure you're delivering it, not the other way around, not creating something and then pushing it on people. There needs to be a need, a solution solved, a space in the world for your product to exist and for people to be able to buy it and want it and need it. So who are your ideal customers, your ideal prospects? It's really important to be as specific as you can and really get to know them. And you can be quite creative with this. So the best way to get to know people is to talk to people. So I always recommend this, whether you are an established organization, you've been in business for a really long time, if you're just starting. Find the people who you think will be your ideal target, who you think need your product or service, and get to know them better. Understand what they're looking for, understand their pains, desires, goals, so that you can make sure that you're saying the right things so that they can hear you and recognize that you're there to solve the problem that they have or to make their life better or different in some way. So what can you do to help them see you? I've got a series of questions here that I think in the context of any information interviews or target research that you might be doing, it's important that you seek out, if anything, the answers to these 4 questions below. So what are their goals? What do they want to achieve in life in the context of the market in which you play, whether you're, a dentist or you make baked goods, what are their goals? What are they getting out of? Baked goods, they want to bring something delicious to their friend's house for brunch. A dentist, they want to relieve pain in their mouth, right? What are their goals? What are they trying to get out of this experience with you? What are their problems? So what are some of the barriers that they're facing to actually working with you, to achieving this goal in their life? And then problems are also usually linked to fears. So what emotional motivations are kind of driving them and affecting them that you can help to solve. And then lastly, it's important that you consider the impact. So people are inherently selfish to some degree. Also, people are only buying things if it services them. They're not buying something for you, they're buying something for them. So finally, what impact will your business, service, or product make on their reality? And I like to think of impact as the way in which you help them achieve their goals help solve their problems, and mitigate their fears. So those are kind of 4 things that I think are most important in your uncovering and your discovery and your researching of your ideal target. Okay, so now we're going to get into positioning. Are there any questions in the meantime? Did anything come up?
Nope, I don't see anything.
Okay, amazing. Now that you have a good sense of who your target is and what they're looking for and what they need and how you can help them, now you want to make sure you're positioning your brand, your product, or your service in an appropriate way so that they hear you, see you, recognize, oh, you're for me. I like this quote in particular, is that positioning is not what you do to the product or to a product. It's what you do to the mind of the prospect. So again, it's not pushing what you do, what you service, what your product is all about. It's how it affects them, and how you can reframe it so that it affects their perspective and perception of you. Your product may not change at all, but you may be changing completely how they think about you or how they associate you and your brand and your product. If you think about any kind of large running shoe company, right? Nike, New Balance, Adidas, they all have different product positioning, even though they all make pretty much the same kind of running shoe. So positioning is everything. You think about any product in the grocery store, any kind of soap, right? You've got literally, even within the Unilever world, you have Axe soap and Dove soap. Both soap is probably made at the same factory. Both soap is slightly different smells. Both soaps are like literally the same, but their positioning is entirely different, and it's a completely different target and a completely different buyer. So to give you a sense of the importance of positioning. So how do you figure out your positioning? Sometimes that can be a tricky beast. And I like to break it down, and I'm going to share with you a bit of my suggestion how you break that down here and how you uncover maybe even what your existing positioning is, to refine it, to crystallize it, to simplify it by going almost back to the foundations and building up. So if you feel like your marketing isn't quite landing for you, if you feel like your messaging might be convoluted, you're doing all the things, but no one's really resonating with it, no one's buying, no one's connecting, it may very likely be the fact that you need to go tear down the walls, bring it back to the studs of your business, to give us a house construction analogy, rip it down to the studs and figure out truly what your features or differentiators and your benefits really are. So I have featured the differentiators here as the same thing. I like to use the term differentiator, so I'm going to carry forward with that too, but I want to include features here because often the features benefit is a common way that people are familiar with thinking about positioning. But I'll carry through with differentiators if that's okay. Especially in a service or B2B space, differentiators is a much better term. If you're talking about running shoes, let's say, or any kind of innovation or product, sometimes features is a little bit easier in terms of terminology. We'll go with differentiators for now. So features slash differentiators are really the unique attributes that your business or service or product can offer. What makes you different and better than whatever else is out there. And not to say that you're necessarily completely different. Nike's still selling running shoes just like everybody else. Maybe you're still selling baked goods just like everybody else. Maybe you're offering digital marketing services, and there's lots of other digital marketing service companies out there. But what makes you different to some degree, and what makes you better? Because why else would anyone choose you if you're not different and better than the other one they're considering? And it may be the fact that you're just different and better for them, right? So you have a good sense of who your target is, you know really what they're looking for. So how do you position yourself to really make it clear that you are different and better for them? And then lastly, benefits are the impact that your product or service makes on your customer's reality. So benefits are fairly similar to impact in that you need to think about then what their reality becomes as a result of using your product. And that's the benefit. The benefit is about them. The differentiator is slightly about you. The benefit is entirely about them. So for example, as a benefit, let's go back with our dentist example. There are lots of dentists. A differentiator may be, we have TVs on our ceilings. So you feel calm. Sometimes we play spa music, we'll play whatever movie or show you like. And the benefit is that, it's less boring and a way more enjoyable experience for you to sit in our chair for an hour, right? So that's just a simple example.
You want some questions, so I'm going to give you one.
Go for it.
Yeah, when it comes to providing coaching services. I have a number of clients in mind, but I'm starting to think that I might go after the 50 plus group. One, because they have unique needs as they're approaching retirement. I have lots of lived experience in that. I have counseling and coaching and life skills coaching in my background, so I can do groups, I can do all kinds of other things. But um, and there are lots of coaches out there who, say, well, I'm going to help you with your business, or I'm going to be focusing on this aspect or that aspect of your business or life. And um, how does one differentiate in that kind of market? Of course, I'm going to answer my own question, I think. It's do as much research as I can on who's doing what out there, and who does something well and who doesn't, or at least from my opinion. But how does one stand out? Because you talk about differentiators and benefits, because the benefits part is the client's thinking, what's in it for me? And um, and the other part is, how do I stand out?
Mhm.
So there are a number of channels. I've been looking, as I mentioned earlier, about PR and marketing, and there's SEO, and
Yeah. So I'll
so
clarify, Ron, quickly, just so you're not tangenting. When I talk about differentiators, it's how you're describing in the context of positioning versus how you market. So when I talk about differentiating, it's not what you do from a marketing perspective. It's what you offer that's different and better from other coaches that you're communicating in your marketing initiatives, whatever those might be. So for example, I like the analogy here of, you're on a street. Let's say the street is your marketplace in which you play, or your niche, or your whatever you want to call it. And on the street are shops. And all these shops are who your coaching prospect could consider utilizing instead of you. And I want you to think broad about this too. It could be, you could have a priest or a rabbi have one shop, right? That could be an alternative option to hiring a life coach, let's say. So it's important to consider all the types of alternatives that your prospect could be considering. And then I think about, everyone has a sandwich board. So what is the sandwich board outside in terms of making someone choose you instead of whoever else might be on the street? And let's say the sandwich board is your only form of marketing, right? So what are you actually saying on that sandwich board that helps them recognize, oh, Ron's store is for me versus the store down the street, or Ron's store is more appealing to me than the store down the street. And it comes to your point from really having a good sense of who you service best and doing that research and understanding what then you need to say to make that person you service best, choose you, see your sign, and come into your store. Does that help clarify a little bit?
that helps to clarify. I'm just going to add a comment. When I was in Paris several years ago, and I would walk down this particular laneway in there, and the restaurants, there was one place that they had plates and they smashed them on the ground to get the customer's attention. But I won't do
Yes,
that.
and that is a very interesting, marketing strategy. Experiential marketing. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep rolling a little bit. So to expand on that, here are some examples. I like to call this kitchen table logic. It's not an uncommon term out there, where you're able to practice pairing a benefit and differentiator together. And you can make a few of these for your business, and then I recommend choosing the one that resonates best, because you don't want multiple. You need one predominant positioning messaging that then becomes the heart and the core of your marketing communication. If you have multiples, it makes things confusing, because every time you connect or attempt to connect with your ideal prospect, they're getting a different message. So you can practice this exercise, but I recommend you hone in on a favorite. And you can do it by, it's like a Mad Libs, right? You can plug and play with different benefits and plug and play with different differentiators. So some examples below, I'll just give you a few of them. We have extra comfortable shoes because of the air cushion inside each of our soles, right? That's a benefit. The benefit is super comfy shoes. The differentiator is we put an air cushion in them. The next one is fresh as flowers because we have a greenhouse on site. So differentiator, unlike other flower stores, we literally grow stuff in our backyard, which is a result. The benefit is you get the freshest flowers today. They haven't come on a truck for miles, right? So this isn't a marketing strategy. It's a messaging content strategy that then disseminates and is in some incarnation existing throughout all of your marketing tactics. Okay, so how do we develop a differentiator? Just honing in on that a little bit more because it's not always the easiest process. So as a reminder, a differentiator is what you can offer that others don't. That's a nice way to think about how you're different and better. So can you offer something that others don't or can't for whatever reason? And can your brand say something that others can or don't? For example, I consider myself differentiated. The one I use a lot is the fact that I'm a fractional CMO now who has a Fortune 500 background and has launched and grown a startup. So as a result, I work really well and can offer a lot of insights to medium-sized businesses who are quickly, rapidly growing. I bring in Fortune 500 insights to a small business because I understand both of them, right? So that's a differentiator for me as an example. Benefits. What does your brand do for your customers that's emotional and tangible? So it's a nice way to think about how will they feel as a result of this? How will their life change as a result of this? How will their reality be improved as a result of this? So you can be as specific or big picture as you like. I recommend when you're kind of thinking about your differentiators and benefits, you just stream of consciousness, write down as many as you can. So the more you can get on a piece of paper, it allows you to then be a bit discerning in going back through that list and thinking, oh, which one is my number one? Which one's really resonating best based on the insight and knowledge I have about my target customer? Again, here are some examples of differentiators and benefits, just to help flesh things out a little more. So differentiators, a differentiator for a baked goods company is that we have cookie boxes that all have an element of interactive family fun. So we don't just make cookies, we literally maybe give you cookie boxes that are decorated. You can decorate them and it's a fun activity. So it takes it above and beyond giving your kids cookies. We actually make an activity, it entertains them for an hour. That's a cool differentiator in terms of what this bakery could offer. Other one is high quality organic beauty products, right? It seems obvious, but not all beauty products claim to be organic or have a reason to, give an explanation of why they're high quality. You obviously want to dig a bit more in this, like why are you high quality, but it's a good differentiator. Another differentiator is we have the softest cotton. So this is for baby clothes or for mommy and me clothing designs. It's just the softest cotton. So both you and your newborn, will want to wear it and be really comfortable. In terms of benefits. So how is it affecting them? The benefit of the cookie box, for example, is you get to entertain your kids for an hour and you can go off and do something else, or it's a connected family fun time aside from snacking on cookies. The other one for the cotton, let's say, for the baby product is that moms then have a feeling of connection with their baby because they're wearing the same outfit and they're snuggling and they're cozy. So it heightens your sense of emotional connection and it makes you feel good as a new mom. So then once you have a good sense of your differentiators and your benefits, it really is important to hone in on one of each. And that's because you really want to create, not that you're necessarily going to share this in its incarnation everywhere as is, but it's really important to, again, build a foundation. What's the heart of what you're really about? It allows you to do your quote unquote elevator speech really quickly. It allows you, if you have a small flyer or only a sandwich board or only a Google ad to communicate a message, you have a really succinct, clear positioning statement about your brand, service, product. So again, we're going back to our Mad Libs, where I like to encourage everyone to try to create a positioning statement for themselves. And this gives you a little bit of way to build one. So we've already done our target research. We know their pains, goals, and fears. We have a list of our unique benefits and we picked our favorite. We have a list of unique differentiators and we've picked our favorite. Then we're going to plug it into a statement. So the statement goes, I help, or whatever, however you want to frame it. I'm helping, or my business helps, or so-and-so helps your target, moms, whatever, who have this problem to achieve or experience a benefit through or by or with this primary differentiator. So if we use the example, this is for a experiential agency. We help Fortune 500 companies whose communication efforts are just no longer working to achieve increased returns or increased sales or improved revenue, whatever you want to say it is its incarnation, because we recognize that as our primary benefit for our target of what they really need to and want to achieve out of this experience with us, by utilizing a precise scientific approach to improve employee engagement. So they're not just making videos, they're not just leading presentations, they're actually infusing a deep understanding of science and cognitive behavior into those communication efforts, which makes them different and better from other experiential communication companies out there. Does that make sense? If anyone has any questions, feel free. I feel like I've kind of covered a lot, and there's usually questions around the statements sometimes. Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Your statement will have to be massaged, I guess, depending on the client. Helping who, and then where there's an unmet need, I'm interpreting, or goal, to do something, to achieve something. Now, what has got me, by utilizing a precise scientific approach to employee engagement. What else could you put in that last bit?
I mean, you could put a million things. Because we have neuroscience building our plans, because we have been doing this for 30 years, because we are experts at making this special kind of technological communication device. It could be anything, right?
But if it's a service company, if it's serving, say, seniors in some capacity, 50 plus, not necessarily, at the end of their life, but they have long spans of life that they have to kind of figure out what they're going to do with it and how they can make it quality time. Is there anything else that that you can add after the buy statement that you recommend?
I wouldn't make it too elaborate. So for example, it would be in your case, how you can really coach and service that boomer target by doing something unique and different in what you have to offer them. So this is about your differentiator, for example, as a coach. To clarify too, there should only be one positioning statement for a business. It does not get shifted or changed depending on who you're talking to, ever. If that happens, you have a very convoluted and very messy positioning for your business. Because if you are rehashing your positioning for every different new type of target, firstly, it's really important that you have one target. And not to say that you're going to ostracize other potential prospects, but it's really important to define who that individual is that is your ideal target, who you can best serve, and focus your communication around that ideal target. Any large brand, if we use them as an example, always, you can call them an avatar, you can call them they name them like Sarah or Jenny or whatever you want to call them. They're an ideal customer and they're crystallized in terms of who the brand envisions that person to be. And all of their messaging ladders up to connecting directly with that person. That's not to say that John doesn't want a Dove bar too, because he likes the smell of it and his wife bought it, so he's still going to use it. But the brand is putting all of its efforts into communicating with its ideal target. So in your case, Ron, if you do recognize that you can service best, let's say 50 plus, who are having a life crisis from a life coaching perspective, all your communication should be driven around that. And not to say that a 30 something or a 40 something, or if you get referred to by that parent to their middle-aged child, you wouldn't work with them. But it's really important to not confuse your messaging and really pick a primary target.
So each business should have a primary ideal client, but I guess I have to sort out, okay, who's my primary client for this business? And if I'm going to offer any other services, I really have to set up um, an alternate business aimed at that. And then, because I'm thinking, okay, if I don't have the result I want from this particular market, I might have a fallback with something else I enjoy doing and offering the helping service I enjoy giving.
Yeah.
Um, does that make sense? So I could have maybe, and I could maybe create a template with different colors and pictures and things like that that might appeal to a different audience. But and they each have their own primary client.
Yeah,
That,
perhaps. But then you're slightly running like 3 or 4 different businesses essentially that have a different message. One thing you can consider doing is, yeah, having multiple, let's say, websites or landing sites, depending on your target. I would, though, just in the effort of energy and time, maybe go for what you think would be the primary first. See how that goes, because it is important from a networking, from an awareness perspective, from a referral perspective, especially in a B2B or service-based business, do you become known for something consistent, right? Because if you are many things, people won't remember what you're for. Oh, I forget what Ron did. Did he work with these people or these people? So it is very helpful from just a general business growth perspective in terms of referrals, awareness, brand awareness, product awareness, that you keep a consistent message going. Or much like Unilever does, they have multiple brands, and those brands live very independently. Yes, it's owned by a umbrella organization, but they're both they're all their own powerhouses in their own right, driving growth for their own with their own messaging. If you split it up, it might get a little convoluted. So treat it like your Unilever in some ways if you're separating the brands out. But for purposes of a small business, for time and energy, I recommend maybe going with one first. And the nice thing about being a sole proprietor is that we're fairly agile in terms of how we can adjust things, right? So maybe you've done a few marketing initiatives, maybe you've spent 6 months going after this one target and it's just not landing, and you know why, it's not working, you need to go somewhere else. Then you have an opportunity to really shift a little if need be. Yeah.
and invest in Kleenex as I cry. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you've done your research first and you know that you think there's a need out there. Again, going back to the target research, like make sure there's someone out there who might need or want this service.
And who can pay.
Yeah, who can pay, exactly. And that matters again in going after the right target where they want this, and you've done that research from a SWOT analysis or your 4Ps, where you've positioned yourself and priced yourself in a logical place within the market. So you know that you're not something astronomically unaffordable. You're kind of comparative to what else is out there. So you're really a viable option for that ideal target. Yeah. So as a quick little summary here, we've got, if you have a good understanding of your target and your positioning, and both are simply defined by you as the business owner, then you have the opportunity to infuse this insight and this knowledge into all of your marketing efforts, which allows your marketing initiatives, whatever they might be, whatever channel you're doing them through, to better attract and engage new business, because your ideal target is hearing you, seeing you, resonating with you because you've done the research and you're saying the things they want to hear. I think this is my last slide. Yes. So we've got a bit of time for more questions. I'm happy to dig a little deeper. I will share, like before, these slides with everyone so you guys can have the Mad Libs template and all of the examples to use as a reference when you're thinking about your own. I don't know if there are any questions in the chat at all, Ashley. But we've got a small group. It gives us a chance to dig a little deeper if helpful on your business. Usually the work I do with clients is all one-on-one, so I'm just getting dirty or digging deep, coming up with all these benefits and differentiators together. So, we have an opportunity here if anyone wants to take advantage of that.
Okay, so I have questions, but I'm hoping that somebody will jump in while I can sort that out.
Okay, well, yours might help other people's too, Ron, so it's okay.
I was wondering if you could go back to hover over the kitchen table logic, position development, and brand position statement. I can see that brand position statement is typically best used for one business. Is that brand position statement, does that come by the Mad Libs that you've put in there, or is it a combination of kitchen table logic and position development?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think of kitchen table logic as being like an easy way to just kind of get the juices going to kind of practice putting these two things together, a benefit and a differentiator in terms of selling or communicating your business. So you can do either, to be honest. If the kitchen table logic feels more comfortable and it's just an easier way for you to access building a positioning statement, you can stick with that. The positioning
Okay.
statement itself is kind of a more advanced version of the kitchen table logic because it brings into play your target and the knowledge of your target in addition to the differentiators of benefit. So if you think about your target work, you're getting all the answers to those questions. So you've got your little list of your target insights. I'll go back to that. Oops, sorry. So you've done all your target research. You have answers to all of these questions. You've got their number one goal, their number one fear. You've defined their biggest problem, and you've sort of thought about what the biggest impact and the most important impact you can make on them is. And then in terms of working a bit on the differentiators and benefits, you can utilize the kitchen table logic, Mad Libs, to help you flesh out what your benefits and differentiators might be. And then the positioning statement kind of puts both those together. So your positioning statement ends up being that final sort of crystallized little nugget of insight that is your positioning statement about what your business is about, what your service is about, who you offer it to, and why it's awesome, different, better.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. So my like little spiel that I tell people, if I were at a show or a market or something, would be, hi, I'm Rebecca from Love Reb. I hand make organic body care products, and I keep it simple, natural, eco-friendly, and with a commitment to community. Would that be something that would be going down the road to be a brand position statement?
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. So you've got bits of it there, which is amazing. I think you have quite a few differentiators in there, which is awesome. The one thing I think you're maybe missing in there is your benefit. So what it actually does
Okay.
for the person using their products. It makes their skin more smooth. It makes them feel less guilty about destroying the planet. Like what's in it for them. So
Yeah,
that would be your benefit. So fleshing out a lot of those. And I recommend that you not try to think about the number one. You just dump as many as you can think about and
yeah.
then go through them and figure out what you think the one that resonates best for you and you think for your
Mhm.
target would be.
Yeah,
And then the positioning statement also talks about who your product is for. So who's your ideal target? You know, this soap is mainly for women 30 to 50 who care about their body or who care about the environment, or, you know, just fleshing that out a little bit, including some knowledge about that target too.
right, yeah. So it could be anyone who wants to support the environment and lives more simply,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
benefiting from natural ingredients.
Yeah. And the more, and recognizing anyone can use it and benefit from it, much like a Dove soap example, it's important to understand why that person chooses you or hone in on a specific detail about a specific type of person. So it's that environmentally conscious person. Exactly. It's that person who wants to purchase guilt-free, who wants to support local communities, or you know, whatever that might be. Although the goal eventually is for you to get larger, and so you can mass produce and have it everywhere. So don't make yourself small with that positioning. But yes, if that's what you feel based on your target understanding is the thing that resonates most for them and the best problem that you solve, then that's what should go into your statement. But think
Okay.
about those 4 questions. I think that'll really help you too when you think about your ideal buyer of your product. You know, who's your dream person? Who do you know always comes to your table and is like, oh yeah, I want this, I need this. That's the person you want to be talking to always.
Okay.
Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron. That was a good, thanks, Rebecca. That was a really good question.
Thanks.
Okay, so I guess I'm still on some of the research part. Um, I I think I'm probably going to have to call some people and do some interviews and pick some brains and
Buy them a
but
coffee.
well, perhaps if I get out of my house here. Um, Now, talking about, say, search engine research and Google Analytics and trend analysis, um, there are probably a couple of secondary sources I can think of that, StatsCan has a great source in terms of what's happening in society and the economy and so on. Um, do you get into any of that? Um, you know, what what can be done to drive someone to a website or attract someone to a website, um, and engage them. Of course, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to do a fair bit of writing, maybe some videos. I did some research this morning on PR, and it seems like videos are really big with a lot of people because they're quick and easy, and they can see me in action. So, is that the area that you work in, or you're more of the overview?
Yeah, well, I mean, so in my work as a fractional CMO, I do everything with clients, everything from crystallizing this work, because if you don't do this work, anything we do from a marketing perspective is going to probably fall short. So we start in doing this work, and then we build a marketing strategy based on deep knowledge of our target and how we can reach and connect and communicate with them through larger marketing initiatives and tactics that you're kind of referring to.
Hmm.
So if we think about the last workshop, let's say, where we built that marketing plan or did the kind of DIY marketing plan, you could also circle back to that. So now that you've done some of your target research, let's say, you're going back to your brainstorm. Okay, how can I reach those 50 plus people who I know want to use me, who have this problem, who I can connect with and help? And think about them. Where do they play? What do they read? What do they watch online? And then you brainstorm all the ways you can connect with that 50-year-old person. Um, and then from there, like we did kind of in workshop one, you prioritize those, right? What is a easy thing to do? What is a hard thing to do? What makes a big impact? What doesn't make a big impact? And you make your strategic list from there in terms of your marketing tactics. To talk about workshop number 3, so that's what we're going to get into in more detail next workshop, where we're actually going to talk about lead driving, low cost, no cost marketing initiatives that you can do to reach, connect with, drive that ideal target into your space, whether that's your website, booking a discovery call, coming to your booth at the craft show, whatever it might be. But here in this session, we're talking about what you're actually saying in those marketing initiatives, and what you're really saying, the heart of that should be this work here, right? If you know who you're talking to and you're saying the right things to them, at least an embellishment of your positioning statement, then you know you're going to be able to connect with them and resonate them. If you only put your positioning statement on your sandwich board, you're probably going to connect with them and they're going to say, oh, I like you better than the store down the street. And that's like an ugly, very basic version of what you're putting on your sandwich board, but you get the gist, I hope.
Yeah. Okay. I think Rebecca's got another question.
Oh, what's the date of the next session?
Ooh, yeah, Ashley might have that for us. It's in June. We're doing the monthly.
I'll put the link in the chat there.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ron.
Okay, so if I'm looking at researching more of this, because it's like you've presented a number of what I'll call rabbit holes to go down and explore. Um, and what are some keywords you think that might help me with my research on this area?
In terms of who your target is or chatting with your target?
Well, tying with that, but also what you're trying to convey, because I'm taking in a certain amount. It's pretty fast, and so, and I want to find a way to operationalize this as uh, easily and as quickly as I can. I'm a concept kind of person. I'm good analyzer, or I can communicate fairly well. So it's and I'm kind of a big picture kind of person as well. If I want to learn something, some people like to get into the nitty gritty bits and pieces. I like context and then work in to the nitty gritty bits and pieces. And as yet in my research and listening to some of the people at BACD and to you, um, I don't have a kind of a sense of where everything is, like, where are the limits? Once I know where, okay, this is as far as I need to go in terms of what I need to learn to do. Okay, now let's break this down. And am I making some, do I make some sense to you as to what I'm kind of struggling with?
I think so. I mean, it's funny because normally people struggle with the opposite. They just don't know how to get in to actually create a positioning statement, or they don't know how to, when they do a target interview, what to actually ask people. So in that case, I think I'm giving you the details of what to do. But in terms of a big picture, I mean, if you wanted to do a bit of Google research on like what positioning is, what brand positioning is, I haven't top lined discussed that, but really, I think the quote I shared kind of answered that question. Positioning really is what you're making people who are observing your messaging, your marketing, think about you and think about your business. So, what do you want the world out there, ideally your ideal target, to associate with you and think about you as? Right? If someone says, "Oh, Ron's the coach guy for boomers," right? That's Ron, right? You want people to know you as something, as a business. You want people to know, and if people think about Rebecca's business, I'm sorry, Rebecca, I forget the name of your business, but if people think about, that business, they have the amazing like organic soaps. Oh, thank you. Great. Reb. Is that right? Sorry, I can't read it. It's Reb. No, something else. It's too small. Can you
It's,
oh my God. Love Reb.
yeah, Love Reb.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, what do they think about when they hear Love Reb, right? What do you think about when you hear Axe? What do you think about when you hear Dove, right? When I think about Dove, I think of Campaign for Real Beauty and, social consciousness and products that are soft on my skin, right? That's what I think about because that is all Dove communicates in terms of their brand positioning in their marketing out there.
Okay.
What do I think of when I think of Love Reb? I think about an eco-friendly, really awesome smelling and effective soap, right? It's what do you want the world to think of when they hear the name of your brand, service, or product? And that's really what positioning is. But if you keep changing your tune, if you talk to all different people, if you're all different things in every different piece of marketing communication, there's no consistency and you don't get that awareness driving it all. And from a B2B or service-based business, you don't get referrals. You don't get people being able to talk about you. If I don't know what the heck you do and it's so convoluted and confusing, I'm not going to ever refer to you someone else because I don't know what to say or what to offer. Does that offer like a top line purpose of positioning? That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to come up with some good keywords just to satisfy how I process things. Now, in terms of networking, my kind of service is a little bit different. I'm not selling a product. I'm not, although I am selling a service of some kind. So if I was looking to do some networking, I want to be able to use my time most effectively in those kinds of events so that, if I'm doing my elevator pitch or whatever, and also engaging with people and seeing what their needs are, and maybe offer some help there as well, to collaborate. Any ideas? Any suggestions?
Yeah, sure. And Mustafa, we'll get to you right next. Yeah, so I would recommend that you create a statement like this so that when you're talking or networking with someone, you can very quickly communicate what you do and what benefit it brings to someone who's utilizing your service.
Right. No, I
So that
understand
person
that part,
can understand.
but it's like where do you think is a good where are good places to do some networking? I mean
Oh.
I you know like you know yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, there are lots of different places to network. I do cover that too in next session because we're talking about ways to grow your business and marketing initiatives. And networking, I think to some degree is a marketing initiative, whether it's doing a talk to a group or an association, or it's actually going to an event where you're meeting other professionals or potential ideal targets within that group, or ideal people who could refer you to your ideal target. So that's a good thing actually to Google, I would say. You can definitely Google like ways to network as a coach, right? But in terms of suggestions, because I do have a number of clients who are coaches and operate in that space, LinkedIn's a really great place to play. So making connections there. Depending on who you're going after, maybe you talk to other healthcare professionals, maybe you speak to doctors or try network with naturopaths or massage therapists. I don't know who you are enough about what you're going after from a business perspective or who your target and what your big differentiator is. But I would say try to connect with other organizations or other people who also have access to your ideal prospect. That would be my recommendation of a place to start with network.
Okay, good. All right.
There's also a really cool online program called Lunch Club. So particularly for service-based businesses, it can be really interesting, but for anyone, to be honest, it's basically like an online dating service, but for businesses. So the app actually connects you with a 45-minute chat buddy, and you have a conversation about whatever your topic of choice is based on how you've outlined yourself in the on the platform. For example, I like to talk about business development, marketing, entrepreneurialism, or entrepreneurship, and that's who I get connected with, and we have really cool conversations. And I've chatted with people all over the world through Lunch Club.
Lunch Club. That's an app, is it?
Yep. Yeah,
like
yeah.
on the phone or
You can
on
just
the...
Google it. Yep.
Okay.
It's on the phone, but it basically connects you with a meeting in your calendar with someone else.
Okay, and it's also available in the App Store.
Yeah, I'm sure it has an app, probably. Yeah, but I would Google it on your desktop first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mustafa, question. Sorry, we took a bit to get to you.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Alyssa. Okay. So I kind of understand the positioning and so on, everything. So, but what I was thinking is, like, if you, I was thinking like like work investing like in a franchising kind of business. So, so how can you try to differ if you're like under like a company and if you're franchisee? So how can you differ like when you're positioning yourself?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think in your case, if you are you a physical store or are you is it online?
Service. So I was thinking
Okay.
to go with the service sector, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't have a store. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a physical location? That's what I'm wondering. A brick and mortar, or is it remote?
So it's just an idea. So I'm just thinking. I'm not. I haven't decided yet. But
Oh, okay.
When you just mentioned about positioning, it just came to my mind. Like, how can I, if I work hard or not? Like, how can I differentiate myself? You know.
Yeah.
Position. Yeah.
So I think it would be good if I knew what it was. But let's say if it's
Yeah. So it's a cleaning business. So basically, it's a cleaning
okay.
company. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, totally. I think a nice way to differentiate there is to bring you into the face of it, right? Because you are, let's say, the heart of this franchise, right? So what differentiates you from the same cleaning service that's owned by John is that you have different levels of integrity. You have a different history. You have something else you have to offer beyond John to choose your cleaning service versus someone else's. So I think in the case of a franchise, there's a lot of value in differentiating you as a business owner and how you operate or run your business, recognizing the service is the same, but maybe you are faster to respond. Maybe you have a special online booking system. Maybe you have a special client referral system, right? There's lots of ways that you can bring lots of elements you can bring into your business to help you differentiate from the franchise down the street that might be the same. And it comes from a personal element.
No, okay, I get it. Yeah, you make it a lot more personal.
Yeah,
I think I get it.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I would do from a franchise perspective. Add a real personal note. Make it really clear that you're not just like every other, uh, Bob's
Yeah.
cleaning service out there.
Yeah.
And how you operate differently, because you still have to compete with other competitors too. And therefore it's really important that you offer some of those really valuable differentiators that the franchise itself might not have overarchingly in their brand messaging, but you can then infuse into your personal initiative.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Because I was just thinking, in case like if the company is not working well, like the franchisor is not working well, so how can I differentiate myself? So it just came to my mind.
Yeah. Think about ways that you can make that different and better. And also from a marketing perspective, there's lots of things you can do to really,
Differentiate yourself. Yeah.
Connect more deeply with your target, connect with past clients. We can get into that a little bit next week too when we talk about execution and tactics, marketing tactics too. But positioning wise, make your franchise personal.
Personal. Oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. That's a good question. I think we don't have too much time left. Anyone else? Maybe there's something in the chat or yeah, this stuff. It's not easy. This is I have a job because doing this stuff is really hard. So give yourself a little bit of space to work through it. But I definitely recommend not trying to find all the answers at first, but just being curious and creative and thoughtful in thinking about all that you really have to offer as a business owner, a product creator, or a service. And definitely be really curious when you're doing any investigating about your target. I recommend you not go into it with an assumption or a closed mind, because the more chats you maybe do with your ideal target, the more you might discover new things that maybe weren't what you thought, but could really improve your business and improve your sales as a result of knowing it. So treat this as kind of a discovery process, starting at the grassroots up to improve everything that you're doing out there now. And if you do find you're like, oh yes, I know what my main differentiator is, I figured it out, and you already have some marketing creative out there, then I recommend, as soon as you feel comfortable, revisiting that creative. So adjusting your website a little, changing your social media messaging a little bit. If you're doing any kind of ads, or if you have a sandwich board, switching that up to making sure that this new positioning is really out there now in your marketing initiatives. Yeah, Ron.
Talking about seniors, some are tech savvy, some aren't. If 50 plus should be, a lot of them should be more tech savvy, but as you get into the higher reaches of aging, maybe not. So I imagine I have to make it much more personal ways of kind of reaching out there to an audience to make it so that they don't have to do too much to hear my message. So
yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think in the case of what I refer to it sounds like the business you're looking to kind of build is kind of like high ticket service based. So you're maybe their coach for a while. And in that case, you're really doing a lot of networking, a lot of word of mouth referrals, maybe even, and we'll talk about this again next session, putting out a friends and family PR package where you can kind of tap into your existing network to drive awareness of the business you've now started. But the heart of that, and really most important, I think, for service-based businesses, because you're relying on referrals, because you're relying on networking chats, it's really important that that person you're talking to really understand what your differentiator and your benefit is, and what you actually do in a very simple way to be able to share that with their friend at the golf course, right? Or whoever else they might be speaking to. So in your case, I would try to keep your offer and your messaging and do this work if you can, so that when you're talking to, Bob while you're golfing, Bob's like, oh, I get it, Ron. Oh, I have a few buddies who would really benefit from that. And they can share that with their friends. You can say, oh, okay, no problem. Why don't I just send you like my landing page or a link to my landing page, or I'll send you, a one-pager PDF that outlines my services, right? That they can easily share. But that one pager needs to be really clear and really effective when Bob sends it to his friend John, right? So, yeah, hope that helps.
Well, more research to do.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have to go, but I will see you in a couple of weeks
Thanks for the questions, Ron. It
for
was
the
really
grand
great.
finale, because I think that's where the tactics will come into play.
Yes, we'll chat tactics. But if you guys are joining us again and you could do some of this research in advance, coming into that conversation next month, knowing your target in detail will make a lot of the things we're talking about even more effective. Because you'll be like, oh, I know I have to do SEO optimization. Oh, I know I need to improve my website. So you'll know then, based on knowledge of your target and where you want to connect with them, which elements we're talking about next time that will, really resonate best with you.
Okay. And the last time you put out an offer for a 30-minute free consult, is
Yep,
that
for sure.
still on the table?
Still stands. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to book something or connect,
Very good.
or that
Okay.
Ashley will share.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.